Hi, welcome to this short video, which is part of the NSWP Global Fund Basics series and is about using the Global Fund Strategy 2023 to 2028 in your advocacy. Using a strategy of a global institution as an advocacy tool is not easy, especially a 70-page one like the Global Fund Strategy. So what we've tried to do is pick out some of the important areas where we feel referencing commitments in the Global Fund Strategy could make a difference. To begin with, the Global Fund Strategy does not exist in isolation. And depending on the focus of your advocacy, there are a number of documents that not only informed the development of the strategy, but which could also be helpful to you. They are listed on this slide here, but you can also find the links in the NSWP Smart Guide to the strategy, which is available from the NSWP website. The strategy framework, illustrated here, can be used as a general point of reference in any Global Fund related discussions and advocacy. For instance, you could reference your alignment with one or more of the three mutually reinforcing contributory objectives when presenting sex worker priorities for inclusion in NFM4 funding requests, or when advocating for sex worker-led organisations to be subrecipients as implementers of sex worker programmes. The Global Fund expects countries to pay attention to commitments made in the strategy. The FPMs and the country teams, Grant Approval Committee and Technical Review Panel, as well as the Community Rights and Gender team, will all pay particular attention when assessing funding requests and managing grants. So, for example, when the strategy talks about maximising the engagement and leadership of most affected communities to leave no one behind, this can be interpreted as the Global Fund recognising sex workers as experts in developing and implementing sex worker programs, but also that you have expertise to contribute to improve decision-making on other issues. Obviously, referencing this commitment is not going to guarantee your involvement or that your opinions will be listened to, but it does make it much harder for the FPM, the principal recipient, and the CCMs to ignore you. Continuing on the theme of maximising engagement and leadership of most affected communities to leave no one behind, the Global Fund will pay particular attention to CCMs. Oh boy. We all know that when it comes to CCMs, it gets tricky. So in one part of the strategy, you can reference the following to justify sex worker inclusions on CCMs. Bullet point 1 would be improving communities' inclusion on CCMs and in the oversight and evaluation of national programs. And the second bullet point is evolving the way that the Global Fund does its business in country to be more accepting to community-led organisations as service providers, on oversight committees, and as technical expert advisors. So you can use these to advocate for a sex worker seat on the CCM, as well as requesting an enhanced role in decision making. To reinforce this, you should consider building relationships with the fund portfolio managers and country teams, as well as the CCM Hub and the CCM Evolution teams. Reach out to them. Let them know who you are, what you do, how you want to be involved in the Global Fund processes, and what you can contribute. You should continue to try and build relationships with the CCMs and UN agencies such as UNAIDS and WHO, who are technical partners, and other entities such as national AIDS commissions or parliamentarian groups that may have influence in your country. However, later in the strategy, the Global Fund also talks about formalising CCM subcommittees for key populations. Now, this is a cop-out, really, and is contradictory to the commitment to use their diplomatic voice to address criminalisation of sex workers and other key populations. Like I said, CCMs are tricky, but generally the strategy supports increased representation of communities, and that includes sex workers, on CCMs and in decision making. So it is worth referring to the strategy when discussing these issues. Then there is intensified action to address inequities, human rights, and gender-related barriers. This is another important commitment. The intention is to continue current activities, scaling up some of the programs and raising the level of ambition. How this will play out, given the likelihood that country allocations will not increase, is difficult to say. But you can refer to this commitment during NFM4 funding request development, or when preparing sex worker priorities and program development negotiations, etc. The strategy highlights the increased use of data to inform decision making. It commits to much greater emphasis on data-driven decision making. This presents sex workers with an opportunity to bring together different commitments to strengthen sex worker advocacy for more engagement and an enhanced role in global fund processes. So let's go through some of those things. So the call for more data-informed decision-making means community-led monitoring conducted by sex workers becomes an important resource. So the call for greater use of sex worker-led, community-led monitoring can be strengthened by referencing the Global Fund commitment to maximise the engagement and leadership of most affected communities to leave no one behind. And then the sub-commitment evolving the way that the Global Fund does its business in country to be more accepting to community-led organisations as service providers on oversight committees and as technical advisors will support your advocacy that, given the expertise shown in your data collection, as sex workers you are best placed to provide technical advice on development of sex worker programs, who should implement these programs, and also to have a role in oversight. A community able to provide this level of expertise and support for Global Fund programs should also be a good candidate for a seat on the CCM. You may also be able to link HIV prevention in support of national HIV programs by using your CLM, your community-led monitoring, to advise how best to target programming to address limited access to prevention commodities, including condoms and lubricants and harm reduction, and an expectation that funding proposals will include programs to address stigma, discrimination, violence and criminalisation, and gender-related barriers, and increased support for community-led responses. Likewise, your CLM may help you identify gaps in treatment and care, and also how to focus efforts to strengthen efforts to eliminate HIV-related stigma and discrimination, and focus and increase efforts to challenge the criminalisation of key populations. So you can package multiple references to the strategy, linking them together to strengthen what you are saying or advocating for. As I mentioned earlier, we don't know what the country allocations will be, but what is clear is that the ambitious commitments made in the strategy will not be fully realised and compromises will have to be made. The points of advocacy highlighted in this short video cost very little to address. In many cases, they would cost nothing, but the gains for sex workers would be significant. When you make written submissions, use the NSWP Smart Guide to help you navigate the Global Fund strategy, to identify the parts you can reference to strengthen your submission. Finally, you can use the strategy to hold fund portfolio managers, principal recipients, and CCMs to account. For example, it is no longer acceptable to exclude sex workers from global fund decision making because they are criminalised, or dismiss evidence and data presented by sex workers because the global fund now recognises the expertise of sex workers and acknowledges that the contribution is valuable. This is some of the recognition we've been advocating for at global level during Global Fund board and committee meetings. So don't be afraid of holding them accountable, because now it is in writing in the strategy. The NSWP Smart Guide and 5 basic videos, including this one, related to the Global Fund strategy are there to help you navigate the 70 pages of the strategy and to more easily identify the parts that are most useful to you. I hope you find this video helpful, and if you need more information or clarification, you can contact me, Mick Matthews, Senior Programme Officer at NSWP, mick.matthews@nswp.org. So that's it, and yeah, like I say, I hope it was helpful, and see you in the next video. Okay, bye.